Fellas, say goodbye to Chuck Sherman the boy. I am now a man. I highly recommend you join the club. We are doing the wild thing all night.
Acid house music.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sherm.
Sherman, I cook all this food. Is that all you gonna eat?
General Sherman realized and understood the importance of house music.
So, do you know anything about techno?
No.
Listen.
Get it on. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another brand new episode of Sherm in the Booth. I'm, of course, your host, Sherm. Today is Wednesday, December 30th, 2020. This is episode 141. Guys, hope everybody's had a fantastic holiday season. You've been staying safe, staying inside. It's almost time to turn over a new leaf. Let's get 2020 over with. But before we do, I've got one last interview for you, and it's with my man, Charles Ford. Charles is a Chicago-based multimedia and lighting and stage design aficionado with over a decade of experience in the industry. I actually went out to his studio called Vue Show Design in Bolingbrook and walked into one of the most incredible podcast sets I've ever seen. It's not every day where I just get to walk in and everything's all set up for me. I had such a blast at Vue Show Design. In episode 141, we discussed Charles' early inspirations and influences. From a young age, Charles always loved stage design. He was involved with school theater and feels lucky to have discovered his passion so early on. It was incredible discussing his amazing career so far. Like I said, Charles has been in the game for quite some time, and he's toured worldwide with artists like Rae Jepsen, Chris Brown, Panic at the Disco, and even Prince. Needless to say, he had some amazing stories to share. For those that didn't know, my major in college was actually design and production, so I have a very soft spot for what Charles does behind the scenes. And he's worn so many hats: lighting design, stage design, video content director, and so much more. He gave us a behind the scenes understanding on how everyone plays an important role to make a live show the best it can possibly be. We also had a great discussion on the future of the industry from both sides, on stage and behind the scenes. Like so many others, Charles' schedules was flipped around, but he's confident creatives will come together more than ever to better the scene as a whole. And I want to take a second to acknowledge everyone that is behind the scenes at venues and concert halls all over the world. It's not just the artists coming up on the stage that makes the magic happen. There's so many people that help them out too. I also want to give a massive shout out to everybody at Vue Show Design. I had such a blast at their multimedia studio, and I'm going to be doing some more things there in the future. Make sure you guys check them out at viewshowdesign.com. Without further ado, guys, let's get into this interview right now. This is episode 141 with Charles Ford. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am very, very excited right now. We are at Vue Show Design right now. My man, Charles Ford. Charles, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I am excellent. I got to tell you, it feels so good right now to be here sitting with you or at your studio. You just opened up in August, right?
Yeah, we pretty much opened up middle of August. We built it out in 2 weeks, and we were up and running by the 15th. So
I saw the pictures before and after. Unbelievable, guys. If you saw this in person, and quick plug, it is up and open. If anyone wants to do any sort of live stream or interview, it's a fantastic place, but it's truly an honor to be here with you, man.
Thanks, man. I'm glad to have you, though.
We're here to talk about you, but before we get into your story, tell me more about where we're at right now and what the inspiration was to start your own design studio.
Yeah, so, I used to tour a lot. Traveled, used to do a lot of corporate shows, concerts, all different kinds of events. Mm-hmm. The moment that COVID happened, all of it just went away.
Yep.
And then streaming became supreme. And so instead of me just kind of waiting for touring and events to come back, I decided, let's just make a place where people can actually still stream with production, with quality, with cameras, with, give the live concert feel or live event feel, giving them the flexibility to have like a more engaging, entertaining stream because we have multiple cameras here. We've got lighting. It's
beautiful. I mean, I can't stop looking at myself in the camera, not because I got a haircut recently and it looks good, but also because it's just incredibly high quality, and that means so much to artists these days because there is that expectation to have not only a certain amount of product and quality and content, but to really actually take yourself seriously. So to be here with you today is just like, it's exciting, man, because like I said to you guys before air, what I went to college for was telecommunications design and
That's awesome.
production.
Gotcha.
I'm like right back in college right now, man. Like this is so cool.
That's awesome.
I'm loving it. I mean, look at the smile. Sometimes I smile subconsciously, but I know I'm smiling ear to ear right now.
That's awesome.
So did you think about doing this before COVID? Like, were you already going to have this space? Or is it kind of like time is of the essence type thing?
Absolutely never have thought of this at all.
Yeah.
We're more of a creative / like design group. Essentially, like the most we would ever need is an office space. Now we have a warehouse.
Seriously? Yeah. The
Built
ceilings are
out
pretty
with
high in
very
here.
high ceilings and a big lighting rig. I would never think ever. But it was just the need for COVID. We're seeing too that like we're not going to go straight back into concerts. Maybe not even this year. It's going to be more of a mix of hybrid / maybe some small in-person stuff.
Yeah, right.
So streaming's going to stick around longer than I want it to, but
Yeah.
I'm going to embrace it. So
I agree.
Yeah.
You have to. I was just talking to that to Matt and Juan before. I think it's been really, really cool to see how artists, again, have had to overcome through this time.
Yeah.
A lot of people have fallen out because maybe they weren't willing to do the right things in the first place. But it is a great way to connect with your fans.
Yeah, exactly.
If you think about it, you can share your music, share your performance, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
your passion, with more fans digitally than in person.
Exactly.
So let's take advantage of it. I mean,
Exactly.
I guess COVID has taught us a lot about life, what's important,
Exactly.
the just crazy things that we never knew about. But also the biggest thing, I think what has united us all more than ever is that we've all been in the same boat for the first time ever.
Yeah.
The music industry as a whole, right?
Exactly.
And that's probably a whole nother podcast. But
Absolutely.
you know, I love asking people like you have been in the business for so long and still look at it so optimistically though, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I don't, then it's gonna suck every day, you know, because it's pretty brutal. If you look at, just the way that it was,
Yeah.
in March, and I'm making it sound like that was years ago.
Feels like it, yeah.
If you look at, how it was in March, and you look at what's happened now, the music industry has been decimated. The live events, touring industry has been decimated, and it's pretty depressing if you expect it to go back to normal, to what it was.
It won't.
It's not, and if you're stuck that way, like, I'm sorry, but you've got to figure out something else because it's just not going to be...
For everybody.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
just people on the stage.
No, exactly,
I think
yeah.
that's something that a lot of people forget about. I've been in the music industry for about six years now, and coming up in Chicago, and just getting to know all the people who are behind the scenes, right? People like you
Yeah.
at big venues, lighting, designer, director,
Yeah.
but also people that are the bartender or
Yeah,
the
exactly.
security guard. Like,
Yeah.
this is what they love to do, and that's just been totally stripped away. And I
Exactly.
think so many people underestimate how many people are really involved.
Yeah, there was a kind of a eye-opening moment for me, but I toured with Panic at the Disco maybe about a year and a half ago, and somebody posted this thing, and I was like, oh, look, Panic at the Disco, they picked one city out of the tour, out of the 41 dates, and they said, essentially, there's up to, I think it was 500 to 800 people that work a day on each one of these shows locally and on the tour. There were 100 of us on the tour. There's a ton of people locally that put the show together. Like
Yeah.
you said, security in the building.
Yeah.
Bartenders.
Yeah.
Janitors. Traffic control. Like, there's 500 people a day that are literally unemployed at each venue. Like, that's, one arena. United Center has 500 people.
Yep.
Times how many arenas are there in the country.
It's crazy.
It's a big issue. And, again, it's not going to go back to that Panic at the Disco size tour for quite a while.
I
So.
know. That's sad. That's really
Yeah.
interesting numbers, though. You don't think about that.
No, exactly. And I didn't even think about that because, again, I'm just a small peon in in the big pool.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
I get off of my tour bus and I go in the building, and then there's a ton of people around me that I don't even really see that they exist because I don't even see their world, and we're in
Yeah.
the same place. So.
It is so cool how you guys all come together to make one incredible thing, and we'll get into that. But before we go too deep into the process, I want to know more about you. Where are you originally from?
I am from Chicago. I grew up here until I was about 10. Then I moved to Cincinnati. I am not from Cincinnati. I do not like that place.
Okay.
But I went to high school there, and I ended up going to an art school that taught me, they got me into the lighting world for theater. So
Cool.
Yeah.
What was the art school called?
It's called the School for Creative and Performing Arts.
Nice.
It is. They're pretty popular in the arts school world for having a really good program.
Yeah.
It was on MTV for a little while on a show called Taking the Stage.
Oh, I remember that show.
Did you? I think I watched 2 episodes. It was my senior class was the class.
No
that was,
way.
Yeah, that was the whole reality. But I think I watched 2 episodes and I'm like, that's not. what happens.
That was definitely when I was going through the MTV VH1 phase. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's like all we wanted to watch.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot about
Gosh,
that stuff.
those
It
were the
doesn't happen
days.
anymore.
So, was anybody in your family or any close friends into this sort of stuff, or where did the inspiration come
It's
from?
really weird. Nobody in my family at all. When I was a kid, I was a weirdo.
That's okay. Me too.
I used to when I was like 4, I would like sketch out like stages. Like,
What?
yeah, it was
Okay.
weird. I used to and I would like take like, my VHS tapes and I would like build like big concert like things. Like my mom saved.
Did you get some Lego men involved then too?
No, like they literally they used to try to buy me all that stuff. My mom and dad, they used to try to buy me toys, and I'd be like, no, I'll just take all the VHS tapes and I'll just build stuff. I used to like take like playing cards and like stick them and like make them speakers. It was really dumb. Not dumb, it's just weird.
Yeah.
I'm sure they loved me because again, it was like I was a child that didn't need anything. So.
Right.
But
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
So yeah, I guess
Repurposing tools.
Exactly. But yeah, I guess the interest just came from something I must have seen when I was a kid. I have no idea what it was, but
Like some of your first memories are doing that.
that's all I can remember. It's just doing the stuff. My mom was perplexed by it. My dad was perplexed by it.
That's
But
really cool
they
though.
supported me with it. So
So, when you were in high school and then going into college at the school, was it immediately lighting design, or were you into just multimedia in general, or what was that story?
it was mostly lighting. Since the school was more theatrical, they kind of, at the time at least, they weren't really into many like multimedia stuff. It was mostly just lighting and the art of lighting in the
Okay.
theatrical way.
Okay.
And that's what kind of makes theatrical lighting a little bit different than like concert lighting. It's really just about the lighting.
Theatrical is in theater, right? Like
Exactly,
plays
yeah.
and musicals type
Exactly.
thing? Okay.
So the school was based mostly around musicals, plays, drama, that sort of stuff. So
I'm a musicals man myself.
are
I
you really?
love musicals.
I will not admit how much I love musicals.
I will admit it, okay? If you want to admit it here with me, I love musicals. I love plays. It's the greatest thing, I believe, real quick, side tangent. I believe it's the most difficult form of performance art because it's not a movie where you can do retakes.
Exactly.
You have to know how to dance. You have to have, like, a character, an attitude on stage,
Exactly.
right? Like, there's something about it that you have to combine all of the different elements of performance arts.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so amazing.
It is. It's awesome. It's one of those things where like you said, you can't really relate it to any other form of art. It's a skill that it takes a long time to develop, and each actor they grow to a place where you're like, how do you know how to do that? So how do you remember all those lines like that?
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it, and you do it every day, like
Every
yeah,
day.
you hit the notes
Sometimes
every
2 times a day.
I don't get it.
And you know what the coolest part about it is too is everybody hears about the making it to the Broadway musicals, right?
Yeah.
Those people don't really even get paid that much once they make it there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah,
they work harder than everybody else. And that's another great example of how many people are involved behind the scenes
Exactly,
there
yeah.
too. They're there working with them, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, yeah, I just thought about that. Broadway's dark right now too, so it's like
It is. It's
Yeah.
very sad.
Yeah.
What was one of your first jobs that you had in lighting?
Well, so in high school, they used to do these things called crew calls, where you were like kind of pretty much you had to stay after school,
Yeah.
and light whatever thing they had, and some of the weirdest jobs too, like because it's such a big school, or it wasn't a big school, but there's so many kids that go there for lighting, they kind of make up some jobs,
Yeah.
like. Because normally on a show that has a crew, like it costs money. For
Yeah.
School, you can just say I have 20 children, I can just toss them over there and do
Right.
my first job, I ran a fog machine underneath the stage for Seussical the Musical.
Okay, Seussical.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's literally, it can be controlled by like the lighting console.
Yeah.
But like they were like, well, we've got 4 fog machines and 20 kids without anything to do. So I sat underneath
Go ahead,
the
take
stage
turns.
during Seussical the Musical, and I just pushed the green button on the fog machine to make the fog come out.
Oh
That was
my
first job.
gosh.
And that was the first time I got to work on a show, and I loved every moment of it. So that's kind of what, I guess that's what got me started, was like, I love this feeling.
Yeah.
It's exhilarating. I'm making fog.
It was all kind of just like a hobby up until then, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was, I think I got into the lighting program at the school, and that was within a month of, getting into the program.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, this is like what it's like to do a show, and it hasn't stopped since then. So.
You think that was the moment when you realized, okay, like I want to do this?
Yeah, exactly. It was more to it. We were at a professional theater. There's this theater in Cincinnati called the Tap Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And so we took the show out of the school and set it up, loaded, got it built out there. We got to work with like the union crew there. So it was a lot to it. Where it's like, oh, this is like what it feels like to be professional. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that was my first one.
How old were you then?
I was probably 12. Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
Wow. That's actually pretty badass, honestly.
It's very random.
It is, but also at the same time, like, that's pretty special. I mean, to be that young and have that feeling, I feel like so many people, when it comes to passions, like, it is a hobby for so long until you realize it's a passion. So that's cool you got that exposure at a young age, honestly.
Exactly. I think that's one of the things that, I am so glad I got that opportunity. When it goes to the passion thing, it's like, look, I'm glad I got to learn that this is what I wanted to do at an early age because
absolutely.
The fear of doing something I don't enjoy scares me because I don't even know. Like, I feel like I'm an awful person. If I don't care for something or I'm not into it, like, I just feel like I would be awful at it if I had to do it every day.
I wish everybody was more like you, man.
No, I think I got lucky in that part, but that's, one of the few things.
I love that. Okay, so 12 years old, fast forward. First, I'm seeing really it becoming something legitimate to you is 2009, right? That's when things really kicked off.
From high school, yep.
Okay, so 2009, I'm seeing you worked at the Madison Theater, the Carnegie Theater, and you even worked with Hot Chella Rae on the world tour.
Yeah, that was my first, the first artist I worked for, first band was Mayday Parade.
Wow, nice. Yeah. That's a throwback.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
No, it was honestly, the touring world was all new to me. I got a random phone call one day. I was actually working for a corporate production company, so I was doing mostly stuff at convention centers. And then I left them, got a random phone call one day to say, hey, do you want to go on tour with this band? I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll figure it out. I didn't know who Mayday Parade was at the time, but I learned the music and went out with them, and those guys were awesome, super nice. Met one guy from there, the guitar tech, a really good friend of mine still to this day. His name's Cameron. He recommended. He knew the Hot Chella Rae guys. He was working for them before Tonight came out, and
nice.
He ended up. They got to the point where they needed a lighting guy, so he was like, "Hey, do you want to go work for Hot Chella Rae?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" Yeah, and they kind of took off from there. Like they blew up with that.
I was gonna say because when I saw that name, I was like, "Oh wow, it's been so long," and
yeah.
That really was right before the bubble kind of popped.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So I got really fortunate with them. I got to go on my first world tour with them.
Wow.
Went to Brazil, Australia.
And this is what year?
2000 and was that 2000? That might have been 2011, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was 2011.
But still pretty incredible. So you developed a relationship with them. Mm-hmm. You earned their respect, so to speak, pretty early on as a talented guy that they wanted to keep on board.
Yeah, and it was fun. They're good people. It was a great time, and I think that just finding that like camaraderie with those guys is like what made it work really well for all of us. We all just kind of stuck around and just had a good time traveling because it can get a little hectic and draining and a little bit annoying being with the same people for 11 months straight, but they were awesome. So.
I've heard, actually, I interviewed a friend who's a very talented saxophone player, and I grew up with him, but he lives in Los Angeles now, and he told me something that I thought was so interesting about bands touring together with certain people.
Yeah.
They would rather, as a group, and tell me if you think this is true, have someone who is, let's just call it like half as talented as the most talented saxophone player in the world, and then get along with the group really well, rather than have the world's best saxophone player on tour with them, who's just a dick.
Pain, exactly. Yeah.
Is that true?
It's true because it's sustainability. Like you can't just deal with the dick every day, like that. Like,
right.
When you
and they are out there, right?
Exactly. A lot of them. They exist. Essentially, like it's like you can't go home every day. Like,
no.
You're on the tour bus, and then you go into the building, and then you're around the same people constantly. It's 24 hours of constantly be around the same people. So you have to be on tour with people that you enjoy because you can't escape them. So
helps that you were talented though.
Yeah. Talent is great, but like I think it's more like how much do you get along with everybody? Talent, like it's like.
I guess that's kind of the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
Do you see that happening a lot then? Where obviously you had a lot of repeat customers, let's call them. Do you see that in other parts of the industry too, whether it's like a band that gets together or it could be like the AV guy or a lighting guy like yourself? Do people usually try and keep a team together as long as they can?
Yeah, I see that a lot, especially with the touring stuff. They really try to keep the same group together because it's like, if a tour finishes and they go back out, on another album cycle 8 months later, at least that group already knows what that artist likes. Or
there's a process, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of the artists I work for, we like start with the same show file. So it's like, oh, well, they did this last time. We're just going to open up this file, and I know how to use it. If they hired someone else, then they're going to have to sit in rehearsals for another 2 weeks to figure it out.
There's a comfortability factor about live performance that I think everybody wants, right?
Exactly,
whether you're on stage or not.
Exactly. So you have to give, because again, I would never walk out there. You will never. This is the most I'll do. You will never see to imagine what it takes to give me the confidence to walk out there.
Yeah,
I'm going to need to have a good support team, crew, management. And probably a bunch of other stuff that I shouldn't have before I walk out there. But I'm not going to go out there.
Two-way street, though, Charles, for real, man, because, like, as someone who does go on stage, like there's certainly just like something calming knowing that there's professionals helping me, whether it be like a great venue that I love performing at is Concord Music Hall.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The guys there have been there for so long.
Exactly.
And like every time I've gone to play, it's always the same guys that walk in, the stage manager,
Exactly,
the equipment guys. They're like, "Hey, Sherm, you want your mic like this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is awesome." I really feel like an artist when I go there.
Yeah,
you
that's
know
cool.
what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
As opposed to, not one specific, but a club or a bar is like, go ahead, get it done.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Exactly.
obviously, I'm not like on stage, but I do take this stuff seriously. So it's cool to hear you say that, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay, so 2009, 2010, 2011, you're picking it up. You're getting a lot of experience, obviously learning a lot. You're on a world tour. 2013, I think you graduated, at least here in my eyes, of a lighting designer. I mean, you're working with artists like J Blige, Rae Jepsen, Hoodie Allen, and Prince.
Yeah. That was a crazy year.
Tell me about like that time where you were feeling confidence-wise, creativity-wise. Obviously, you're getting a ton of experience at this point.
Yeah. Honestly, it felt really just.
Was
like
it moving fast?
No, not really. It just
Yeah.
felt like everything. Like at that time, there was nothing that made me insecure about my capabilities.
Okay.
I felt pretty confident in like knowing that. Look, I know how to program this thing. I know how to make this thing look this way. I know that I want the lighting to feel this way. I think that year was probably where I grew confident to know, like, look, you know how to do this thing. You've got it. That like with all those artists that you just mentioned, I think that the most complex one would have been the Prince one, and it wasn't because of like my lack of being able to figure it out. It was just he's a complex artist to work for.
I was gonna say, I feel like he can't be. I guess I don't want to say a customer with him. He's almost like he is a business.
No, yeah, he's definitely exactly. And honestly, it was for me. I think I gained a lot more confidence working with him because the way that like you mentioned like Rae Jepsen and Hoodie Allen, those people are very linear with their shows.
Yeah,
you play a song and you know what song it's gonna be,
right?
And they play the next song, and it's the same way every night. Or
right.
sometimes they'll switch it up a little bit.
Right.
With Prince, it was you don't know what's gonna happen.
Oh shit!
You have no idea. And that's what's really exciting about his shows too. Is it's like, you literally don't know what song's gonna be first, and then
he doesn't tell you.
No, it was the set lists were jokes. It was like, hey, here's the set list. Just kidding. It's like, there was a list of songs that he probably didn't play half of them.
Oh my gosh!
Just because he was such a musical genius that he could just pull songs. Sorry.
You're good.
He could just pull songs and say, hey, band, play this song. And they would just play it randomly.
So his band toured with him then for years then probably, right?
Yeah, so the group that I did, because I did 2 years with him, they were around for about 3 years.
Okay.
He would switch up bands every, not every album cycle, but every once in a while.
And he doesn't even need a band, does he?
No, I mean, there was times where literally it was just him and a piano and a keyboard. So,
oh, man.
Yeah, there were moments in shows where he would tell me, like, Charles, turn the lights off. And I'd have to turn the lights off because that means he's going to go play an instrument that, like, he normally doesn't play. Sometimes he go play drums, sometimes he go play the bass, but he don't want people to see it.
Yeah.
But he's the best at it. Like, he's amazingly talented at playing pretty much any instrument I've seen him pick up. I've seen him play a saxophone before. Like,
what?
Yeah, the guy could play anything. So
that's unbelievable.
He's exactly. It was just for me. It was cool to just watch the show sometimes. Even though I'm supposed to do stuff, it was like I'm watching, just like craziness. This is amazing. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Where were some of the best shows? I guess Prince or J Blige, any of those other artists. Is it like venue specific, city specific? Like the artist kills a show. Do you never really know when you're gonna get an incredible night?
I mean, you never really know, and I can't really remember the venues. I remember like weird. My memory is really weird sometimes.
I'll
remember the bathroom of the venue before I remember the name of it. I'm like, yep, the bathroom there has like this weird tile, but I won't remember the name of the place.
That's hilarious. I know exactly what you mean, honestly.
It's so strange. But yeah, I will say that one of the best Mary J. Oh, I remember that. The best Mary J. Blige show I saw or did with her was it was a casino in Connecticut. I can't remember the name of it.
Nice.
But it was just she was in a beautiful theater and like she was like singing like No More Drama, and it was just she can really sing. She's really good. But it was just one of those things where it's like it was very intimate, but the show was just great. It wasn't anything elaborate on the production side. It was just really good.
Gosh.
I'm trying to think the best Prince show or the shows in his. He would do shows in his house.
Yeah.
Where he would literally just you walk into this big empty room and he would just play music with his band. and like they would invite me to come do lights there, but sometimes there weren't really lights in the room, so it was just fun to just watch you sit in a dark room, and there would be tons of people just in the room, and you just hear them play all night. That stuff was really cool. So
What a special artist.
Yeah.
That was in Minnesota?
that was in Minnesota. Yep, at his place at Paisley Park. So
you developed a relationship with him then?
yeah, I was around for 2 years, which is a very long time to work for Prince.
Yeah,
So,
It's incredible, man. I acknowledge you for that. And then we'll get back around to it, but you continue to work with them years later, right?
Yeah, pretty much up until a few months before he passed away. So
Gosh,
Yeah.
R.I.P., man.
no, exactly, same. Yeah,
Once
so,
in a generation type
I know.
artist.
Who do we have next that's gonna be that? That's what
I don't
afraid
know.
of.
A lot of pressure, future artists out
Exactly, yeah.
there.
Please, we need a new
He
Prince.
really was so unique in so many ways. Unbelievable, though, man. So 2016, you continue to kill it. And now we're really seeing you work with artists who are on the rise like crazy, right? Like Chris Brown in 2016.
Gotcha. Oh, I did that. That was 2016.
Yeah, look at this guy. Yeah,
I
Chris
can't
Brown.
remember.
Yeah.
In
Prince
Europe,
is on
right?
your
We did
mind
this
right
big
now.
European tour. I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask about that for sure. CeeLo Green, Trey Songz, Panic at the Disco, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point in 2018, you'd been in the business for over a decade.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've really earned your stripes.
Try to.
When you're at that point, and even now looking back,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the biggest things that you felt like you've grown as a person or as a professional, quality-wise, like experience-wise? Do you ever just take a moment to say, okay, I'm a lot better at that now, or
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore?
I think all the technical stuff. I think that I was
Yeah.
a really poor programmer. Again, programming the lights is how you make the lights, flash the music. Or
Right.
Or just programming all the video stuff. In that time period, I learned media servers, which it's kind of how this graphics up here right now.
Okay.
But media servers essentially can take video content and feed it to video walls and screens. And you can fire it from the lighting console, essentially. But I got really good at programming, like, multiple disciplines. So lasers, media servers, lighting, and then some automation stuff. So, again, programming all of that from the lighting console. I got really good at just, like, show control. Because before I had no idea, like, what I was doing most of the time, honestly. Like, the lights would just flash around. But people, it comes down to, like, creativity. You know what you want it to look like.
Yeah.
And you can make it look good, but the moment that you need to try to make it do that, I wasn't good at that when I was, much younger.
You had a method to your madness, though.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Well, yeah. I would turn the lights on and they could be on, but they couldn't do much more than that. But now, like, I knew all that. I grew all the technical ability to say, hey, I want these lights to do this at the same time.
Did you have any mentors along the way?
Yeah. So I used to work for a company called DK Production Design.
Mm-hmm.
The owner I met when I was probably in the 10th grade.
Okay.
He actually toured with Chris Brown when Chris Brown was, blowing up way early.
Yeah, like the Run It days.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was with him then. And he did a bunch of artists. But anyways, he needed like an assistant for a show that he was doing in town in Cincinnati. And I met him then, and I kind of just like idolized the guy. I thought he was amazing.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
He ended up hiring me years later to work for his company.
Oh,
But,
man.
he's been around, throughout the years that I was able to learn a bunch from. And then also my lighting teacher in high school, Jeff New. Me and him are still great friends to this day. He taught me.
That's great.
He taught me a ton of stuff, and mostly it was just more of just like stuff to just be a decent person, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really respect the lessons of one of the main lessons I think I picked up from him was there's a million ways to do one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Your way isn't always the best way. Just know that you have your way.
Yeah.
I think that helped me
Yeah, that's important.
approach things in a much more like, hey, look, like, you're not going to be right all the time. You don't want to be right all the time.
It's probably really
Yeah.
easy to get stressed out.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And there's a million ways to put all this stuff together and
Yeah.
listen to everybody's opinion and do what you think is good and listen to their stuff too. So
That's a really interesting parallel to, honestly, music production, because I always say, like, people use different digital audio workspaces to create different types of music, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we all are building a house with our toolbox, right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How you build your house and how I build my house is the same concept, right?
exactly.
But it kind of works like that in lighting and design
Exactly,
then too, right?
exactly, yeah. I mean, exactly, because you're going to get to the same place anyways for the most part. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some people don't like how you use certain flooring in your house,
Yeah,
or I
exactly.
don't like the stairs like that. It's like, well, will you just let me do the finished product and then we can talk, right?
yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. Now, Charles, I want to ask, When it comes to an international crowd, right? If you're doing a world tour, I think we know the U.S. is such a dominant market.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people here, right? And there's just so many different cultures.
Yeah.
When you're doing a show in Chicago or you're doing a show in Europe, let's just use like Chris Brown for an example. Do you consider not only, and I have a few questions with this, do you consider not only the fact that the crowd's going to be different, the artist might perform differently? How do you work with the artist and their crew and their band or whatever it might be to understand who your market is for that night?
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Honestly, the only places you'll this might sound weird, but the only places you'll see like a different, like you'll feel a difference in the crowd, and it's all for the better. But it's more like in Japan. Like in Japan, like they're super into this. Like if you perform a song, you're singing, the people love it, they're into it. The moment you stop singing, they're silent. So like, in some shows you have
crazy.
to. It's an
It's their
amazing
culture,
to see.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because they're so polite and pleasant.
Yes.
And then you're just like, well, it's dead silent in the middle of the song. So some artists you have to kind of like tell them, hey, you know, like
Keep talking.
keep going, keep talking, just get used to it. There's people out there still, I promise you.
Wow.
But then the songs pick up and then they're back into it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. It's so cool to see it. So, but like there's shows where, you know, like bigger festivals sometimes, like especially in Europe, sometimes people get really into it. There's things you can do like in those, you know, in those bigger shows where like, you know, maybe you'll add some sort of confetti thing or fire or something like that to get people like, you know, really into it.
I love that.
But yeah, honestly, most of the crowds are, you know, pretty similar until you go to Japan and you're like, whoa, this is different.
That's really interesting. I didn't even think about that.
No, it's one of it was one of the weirdest moments of my life. Like the first time I went over there and like the song stopped. I'm like, there's some people here.
Did the equipment? The equipment?
Exactly. Is everything okay? Did the audience mute themselves? Like, what's going on here?
On top of that, so a question about equipment internationally. Like, if I'm a DJ touring around the world, there's a standard, right? Is there a standard plug and play for lighting, or do you have to kind of work against the odds in other parts of the world?
So lighting is so essentially when we design a tour, we're able to say, hey, look, here's the design of the tour. It's, you know, we can take that plot, send it off to the people in other countries to say, hey, try to replicate this as much as humanly possible. Most of the time, it's pretty straightforward. Like most lighting people understand. Like, hey, we kind of break lights out into, you know, just different styles and groups or whatever. We're pretty flexible on what we'll be able to accept.
Right.
The way the lighting talks, it's pretty straightforward. You can't really it's not straightforward, but it's more. It's been systemized across the world essentially.
Okay, so there is a standard then. So
exactly, there's a standard, and most of the time it's pretty much hit. There's some places that you can go to. Like there's a few countries, like third world countries, where it might be a little tough to get.
Sure.
You know, your package put together, but essentially you'll get there. Because sometimes they just don't own, you know, a $10,000 light. They might own a $5,000 light, and it's up to me as a designer to know, like, I can't dictate that. Like,
no,
they're not
going to
spend $10,000. They don't have any purpose for that light, you know?
Yeah, and I bet, like, I was going to say, if you're going on a world tour, right, sometimes world tours involve a festival stop.
Yeah, exactly.
How does that work with trying to collaborate with them versus at a venue?
As a lighting person, that's the worst scenario to be in usually.
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, especially if you're not, like, the headliner. If you're anybody that's not the headliner, you get the worst scenario because the headliner gets to come in the night before. They get to program overnight, so they can they can patch into that lighting system. They can get their looks up. They can, you know, just run through the show and check everything. As a support act for a festival, you get the daytime. Maybe in the morning, you might get an hour.
Yeah,
to like take your hour-long show and all your, you know, months and months of tweaking and programming into it. And there's ways to speed it up, but it's just nobody's ever happy. Nobody's ever happy in that situation.
Yeah.
There's these systems called previs systems where you can pre-visualize it on a computer. You can look and get close. It doesn't matter. Like, it's never going to be the same, and we all hate it, so.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So how does it work kind of like an example I always think of when I think about lighting, you know, one of the most famous DJs in the world is Martin Garrix, right? And he was on a world tour and stopped in Coachella as like the last stop. And I remember seeing his lighting guy come in, and it was like a big moment for him because it was like obviously Coachella and everything.
Yeah.
So what about that sort of gear? If I'm like a live lighting guy, you know what I mean? Like maybe not so much of it is programmed because I do have to react to what's going on. How do you train yourself on different sorts of equipment? Like if it's Coachella or it's, you know, like a smaller festival, it's going to be different types of equipment.
Yeah, well, sort of. Like, essentially, the lighting is mostly different. The control surface is much the same.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so I use MA, and most lighting, like programmers for festivals will use MA.
Okay.
There's very few people that use a software called Hog.
Hog.
I used to be a hog. Yeah, the names are weird.
Hoghead?
So it's Grandma, which is the name of. That's what I say. MA. So,
Okay.
And then there's Hog. There's a whole bunch of just weird. We're weirdos. Like it's
okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of like the dominant factor of the two worlds.
Yeah.
It's like Hog and MA. But most festivals will have MA on site. So as long as you're in the same version, you're fine. So you can go anywhere in
Gotcha.
the world and run a festival with your file. So
So it's complicated, but not as complicated as I'm making it out to be in my head.
no, I mean it's still complicated, and I've only in the last 5 or 6 years fully figured it out.
Yeah.
So it's constantly changing too. So there's a new MA that came out now, MA3. I don't even know how to turn the thing on, but it's from MA2. But in theory, like it should be similar, but they've changed everything, and I'm afraid to look at it. But,
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So
Now, are there pioneers in the industry or big inspirations for you that are either known or unknown, and who have they worked with?
Yeah. So I'd say probably the few of the pioneer or one of the pioneers that I can think of right now, Leroy Bennett. He's been around since he started with Prince when Prince started.
Okay.
And so that's how he was able to,
That's awesome.
learn that crazy world of like going from like a club artist to just a stadium artist.
Yeah.
In probably a few months. But he's been very tasteful. He's still around to this day.
Have you met him before?
I have not met him before actually. He's done stuff like The Weeknd. He's done
man.
just pretty much any big artist you can imagine. He's done it.
He's the go-to guy then?
He's the go-to guy.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But he's awesome. He's a truly talented guy, and he's he keeps up with technology and figures out new stuff. So
That's awesome.
That's why I kind of like look at him like, hey, he's a good example of someone to look up to because again, he's getting older in age, and he definitely keeps himself
Certainly
informed. So yeah.
How do you challenge yourself creatively then, as trying to maybe push the boundaries or just get better and better? YouTube University, or like what do you do? Do you like set up the studio in different ways just to kind of think of new ideas?
I honestly just try to do different projects. So,
Okay. This?
yeah,
Something like this?
just random stuff like this.
Yeah.
Or like I work with pop artists like Rae Jepsen's one. Her shows are one style of thing, and I like doing concerts.
Yeah.
But I also like to do like right now. I'm actually working on a project where we're taking a parking garage and we're making it like a drive-through experience.
Oh.
Where there's there's a bunch of lighting to make it look and feel different. So
That's cool.
Yeah, I've never lit a parking lot before ever. But there's a lot of logistical challenges, but I like to figure out that sort of stuff. I don't want to just stick to music. I don't want to just stick to events. I kind of want to do random stuff. So
Yeah.
we're actually there's another project we're like trying to like light a park, like a big park with a bunch of trees. Like that's another that's another way to
need a
take
lot of lights.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Very random, but it's taking the same exact tool set and just applying it differently. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the kind of that's how I try to
Really cool.
Yeah.
So you go outside your comfort zone to a certain extent, but only by challenging yourself with a new opportunity.
yeah, exactly. Uh-huh.
Wow.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good way to go about it. And there's so many different types of things out there these days creatively, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Wow. Okay, Charles, I see you, man. So you wear so many hats. You don't just do lighting. You've done staging designs, video content creative, director, lighting director. Obviously, you started off with the fog machine guy.
Yep.
So that's your main passion.
that's what you should hire me for.
Tell us about maybe a night where you had to do more than you anticipated, and how did you get through that? Like, can you wear all the hats?
Can I? Is the question. That's after a few of these events. Yeah, can I? Yes. Should I? Probably not.
Uh-huh.
I was doing some medical sales show once, and the director of the show essentially had me doing a lot of everything. Like I was in charge of like there was these video walls that could move on and off stage, but like I was controlling those. I was controlling these like glow up bracelets or whatever. I was also cutting the cameras. All this was happening through the lighting console, but I had to do pretty much the whole show. And it was
Wow.
a giant show where there could have been other people that could have ran those other bits.
Uh-huh.
But that's just how that director wanted the show. It was quite overwhelming because again, if one thing messes up, it's not his fault. It's my fault
Yeah,
now.
true.
So feeling the pressure of that was a little frustrating because it was a big event. But
Yeah,
it all
it's
went off without a
a lot of
hitch.
people.
But it was just after that, I was like, you know what? I know how to do this, but like that should have been offloaded to someone else. Some of it at least. And then it was another one of those moments was for some of Prince's stuff. I was a show caller also, while also running the show and calling the show and doing all those. So I would have to say, hey, we want special effects to happen now. We want this because I was the only person at the time that
Sure.
knew the show as well, more than anybody else on the technical team. So from there, I kind of realized, like, look, you need to do one or the other. You're a lighting operator or you're the show caller. You can't do all of it. So yeah. So those are two pretty good moments of like, okay, chill out, Charles.
That's a lot going on.
Yeah,
and that's,
exactly.
And talk about a new type of experience too. We're talking about mostly concerts and tours here. That was a like conference.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Those people don't know anything about staging, so they probably think it's easy to do all that stuff, right?
Oh, this is you can just figure it out.
You can
just
turn it on, turn it off,
exactly,
right?
Yeah, exactly. That's all it takes. Exactly.
So for those that don't know, how do you guys communicate backstage during a show? What sort of roles does each person play? You know, director obviously is calling all the shots, but how does it work with just communication-wise?
Yeah, so essentially there's two different ways it can work. Sometimes we use radio, sometimes we use this thing called clear comms or headsets so we can talk on them. There are people in the lighting world, for example, I'll break it out. Is it like, yes, I am the director, I'll run the console, I'll call the follow spots, I'll call whatever visual parts of the show. Then I'll be in communication to people that are backstage that are on the lighting crew as well to just make sure that all the systems are working. If some light stops working, I can say, hey, reset this fixture for me during the show. And there's usually like the stage manager / like production manager that says, hey, look, let's start the show. And they call it over the radio or the headset. And they're the ones that are pretty much on stage just making sure everything's moving around perfectly. Yeah. There's backline guys that essentially make sure all the instruments are taken care of and all the artists are comfortable with whatever they have to play next. You know, if guitar string pops, there's a guy that's ready to, give you a new guitar. Or
you said earlier a guy you were friends with a guitar. He like runs the guitars or something.
What
was his title? Right in the beginning, you were telling me about one of your friends who you're still friends with.
Oh, guitar tech. Yeah.
Guitar tech.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
So he just handles guitars.
Just guitars. I mean, sometimes guitarists will have 8 guitars that they play throughout the night.
Yeah.
And then their pedal boards, which I don't know how those things work anymore. They're not like simple. Like there's computerized ones now.
Yeah.
Yeah, their job is essentially to make sure that all that stuff's set up and working. And if anything happens throughout the show, they can quickly fix it. They can restring in like a second. Yeah. So if a string pops, they can pop another one in there really fast before. Wow. As an as an audience member, you probably don't even know. No. Like something went wrong, but
he's the guy walking out, giving the guitar.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Or running out usually.
Everybody loves that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody loves that guy because you're like,
fix
okay.
Stuff. Exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Drum techs. I don't really understand. They set up drums. They do a lot. Tune the drums, all that stuff. So yeah.
Outside of lighting, which is your biggest passion, obviously, what is maybe your second favorite thing to do behind the scenes?
Just the creating process. I like to work with people to figure out like, hey,
pre-production stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's putting the thing together, figuring out different ways to make things more cohesive. Sure. With whatever creative they may have. Like I love that. And that's what I've been doing a lot more lately. Is just like saying, hey, overall, big picture, this is what we should try to do for this song, or for this moment, or for this thing. So, yeah.
Love that, man. Exactly. That's so cool. I can just feel your energy from how much you love what you do. I really respect that, man. You don't get that and everything. It's obviously, it goes beyond like just as a job for you.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Been a passion for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I love it, man. Thank you. So obviously, you've been in the business for a long time. Mm-hmm. You've mentioned a few different times how you've gotten used to changes in technology on a global scale, on a local scale. What have been some of the coolest things, in your opinion, that have either maybe helped your job get easier or have helped the artist performance? What have been some of the biggest advancements you've seen?
The use of automation.
Yeah. Easy. Oh my gosh. How do you use automation in shows?
So essentially, we use what's called like time code. And essentially, if an artist has, tracks that are playing, because sometimes, there's instruments that you cannot replicate on tour these days.
Absolutely.
Music has gotten so complex that, you can't have your keyboard playing 20 synth parts anymore.
Yep.
So the tracks just help them, have extra sounds to make it sound fuller,
Yeah.
So in that, we were able to put in this little file called time code where it sends a clock to everything. And it says, hey, the music's playing and this is happening right with it. So I can make all the lighting equipment, video equipment synchronized to that.
Right.
So instead of me having to flash the strobe button on this, every time that somebody hits the snare, it's already programmed. I don't have to sit and do it.
Oh my gosh.
A million times per song.
When did that come into market then?
That's actually honestly been around. They probably started using time code in the 90s, but it really started taking precedence in the last probably 10 years or so.
As an industry standard.
Exactly. Just because it's so much easier to have a consistent show based on that. And consistency is important too when again they're having to do it every night. Yeah. You have to just kind of have the same show every night. It's only fair. So.
Is there anything you can't automate?
It's really difficult to automate pyro. It's not that it's difficult. It's just that like there's a lot
Yeah.
of like watching that has to happen. So,
Yeah, it's fire.
yeah, exactly. It's stuff that can blow up. So there's like time code triggers that happen from it, but you're still the person that's saying, hey, like it's okay, let that thing happen. 'Cause there's something that can stop it all from happening.
Gotcha.
And then you can't time code like the person. Sometimes it's on stage. Sometimes you just want them to,
Do their thing.
be time coded so they can be consistent. But,
Oh my gosh. I feel like Prince didn't have any time.
Oh
codes
no,
today.
no. Most artists I've worked for have never had that issue. But sometimes you see the shows and you're like, oh, this person's drunk and they just need to switch them to track or something.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that probably happens a lot.
Yeah, I've seen some weird festivals where it's like, wow, this is entertaining, not because of the music.
And you were affiliated to the artist, or you were just
No,
working
I was
there?
just watching. Just a couple times I've seen them. I'm like, wow. I've been fortunate enough to not have to work with artists that have had some of those issues. But
Yeah,
it
it's
happens.
definitely a consistent thing. Now, when you go to do you enjoy live shows like outside of working? Really?
No, I mean like I think the last concert I brought a ticket to, like out of my own like desire to go was I think Leon Bridges. It was great. I
Okay,
enjoyed it.
Leon Bridges is
Yeah.
well deserved of that.
But that was like 4 years ago, and that was like the only concert I went to like in my own time. But
That's
no, I really
amazing.
just want to sit in quiet or listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
So,
But
I
you
listen-
obviously do enjoy live shows.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
I love running them. I love working them. But honestly, I could just sit at home in quiet.
Yeah.
I don't have to be there.
Do you have any guilty pleasures for music though? Like if you're like, oh man, I'm obviously Prince again, of course, but
Yeah.
like maybe you love CeeLo Green or something, right?
No, yeah, I've really been listening to Mute Math a lot lately. I don't know why. Mute Math and Michael McDonald.
Fuck yeah, dude.
It's so random. but
Let's go.
It's so random.
You're a man who knows what he likes.
It's so weird though. Like being one of the other guys that works here, we were like,
Yeah.
I picked the music some days, and like I forgot, like I punished him with Michael McDonald for like 8 hours that day. I'm like, sorry, man. I don't
That
know
reminds
why.
me of 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just so random.
You're the manager. That's hilarious.
Exactly.
I love that. You like what you like, man. So obviously we're here today at your studio, like you talked about earlier. The music industry is in a tough spot right now.
Yep.
Performance industry. It's bigger than that, right? It's like what we said. It's so much bigger than just artists can't perform.
Exactly.
What have you seen, for better or for worse, during this time for artists and performance and just the music industry? And what do you expect is going to happen in the next year, maybe beyond?
I guess, what have I seen? I'm afraid of the fact that I haven't seen much, people not doing too much right now.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that it's become a little bit complicated on the side of the artist to go out and do a live stream sometimes.
It's difficult.
It's definitely difficult. There's, stuff you have to worry about on their licensing side, monetizing.
Oh my gosh. It is a hassle.
It's a pain. I don't know why. I mean, I feel like it's kind of being set up that way because they don't want, like, maybe this medium to take over live concerts.
Well, it's the major labels. They make their
Yeah.
money on their artists touring,
Exactly.
right?
And so I think, yeah.
What is the? Maybe you might know. I know obviously a huge amount of artist income come from tours.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
It's got to be well over 50%.
No, it's like 80% or something like that. It's up there, and it's gonna get. I think that a few weird things might happen. I think that after a few more months of this, I think that some artists are gonna need the money. Like they're gonna need to go
Yep.
do a live stream, so that might start to put a surge into live streaming.
Yeah.
And I do hope that maybe the labels and the management teams somehow make it a little bit easier for them to.
Yeah.
You know.
You can't
perform.
live stream on Facebook.
No,
It
yeah,
gets
exactly.
taken down.
Yeah, exactly.
Instagram,
Yeah.
very difficult.
Exactly.
And then Twitch has even now made a big shift to it, and they're like, just play your own music.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, okay, I got like 6 songs, at
Exactly,
this
yeah.
point. Like, there are so many artists out there that, like, and I mean, of course, DJ culture. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. Uh-huh.
It just doesn't make sense to me because we're not monetizing selling their song. And
They're
in
just-
my eyes, as an artist, stealing it would be taking your song and removing the artist name.
Yeah, exactly. And saying it's yours.
Like, I didn't make Levitating by DaBaby and
No,
Dua
exactly.
Lipa, man. You know what I
Exactly,
mean?
yeah.
Just like, let me play the song. 'cause
People
when
know this, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, obviously, I get it. But it's just, I think that's been kind of on both sides of the coin for me, for better or for worse, is
Yeah.
artists are now challenged to maybe go back to the drawing board and think about their creativity.
Uh-huh.
Because if they do want to live stream and not have to worry about that stuff, they're going to need to create more.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wonder what that does for the creative, and I wonder what that does for the creativity going forward. Like, in fact, I saw early in the pandemic there were a few artists, and I can't think of her name, well, at least one of the names, but she did this really cool music video where she shot it by herself, and it looked really good. She like did all the graphics to it,
Love
and
that.
all the editing, and it was really cool. She shot it on her phone. She taught herself how to do it all like in that day of shooting it, and it was cool. So I thought that like she wrote the song and she cut the music video. It was what she wanted, and it looked good. It was very different, but it looked really good and unique.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't think of her name, but I think that maybe that'll be something that comes from this, and more people will just take more control of their image. I think that some artists are kind of dictated by the creative direction that the label or group puts ahead of them.
Totally.
And now they're just at home doing what they want, and maybe they're recording at home, and maybe there's stuff that we haven't heard yet, but it's their stuff. And
I completely agree. I think there's a new like golden era of music coming, I believe.
Yeah, I hope so.
Like maybe we'll see a new Prince here soon.
Yeah, let's please, we need it.
Because how many labels or how many artists, and just in general, right? Because like I said, if 80% of your income comes from tours, that means that you're going to want to make music that people want to see live.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly, yeah.
But that's not all music.
Yeah.
Like some of us like Michael McDonald.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You don't need to go see Michael McDonald live to get the Michael McDonald experience.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, I've interviewed a ton of different producers this year and asked them this similar question, right?
Gotcha.
Like, how has your process changed when you're in the creative process, knowing that your music may not get played live for another year?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And a lot of them feel a lot less pressure.
That's good.
To not have to create songs that would do well live.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do well live or do well on radio, like, which is another wrench that's unfair, I feel like.
So unfair.
Yeah, it's like let them create, let them, and what would and again, maybe this is that moment we get in our time to say, hey, this is what it feels like. This is what music is like that isn't forced, you know?
Yep.
Because
exactly.
It's frustrating when you hear the same song on the radio over and over again. It's not even the same. It's, different artists. It sounds the same, but
Dude, I just listened to Hot 96.3 on my way over, or B96, sorry. And I heard 2 Ariana Grande songs and a Drake song and a Baby song, and I'm like, man.
You're like, are there any other artists that exist in this world?
Well, also, and I'm like, what's the market out there right now? Is this what people want to listen to?
I think that's where we are now, where it's like, it's not what people want to listen to. It's like, what are we going to make them listen to? Like, you don't really have a say in it anymore. Like, they just play the same 10 artists, and it's kind of frustrating. And
it is frustrating.
That's why I don't get to listen to music. I don't listen to the radio. I don't even know how to turn it on in my car. Because it's like, it's just going to be the same song over and over again.
Yeah,
so.
it's monopolized industry, but I think that's going to be the coolest part to come out of this is because, well, if you think about it, negatively, a lot of artists have had to either let go of management or let go of their labels or vice versa. Yeah. So now it's like back to the drawing board. You know what I mean? Like exactly. I said. So I think it's going to be like what you're inspired by, like the pre-production aspect. Yeah. Everyone's like, okay, I get a chance to step back right now and think about how I want to present my brand, knowing maybe if you've had success for a few years or even longer than that. Yeah. There's so many artists these days. I mean, you look at someone like as big as Kanye West, who is just telling people the truth about these major labels. Yeah. It's things that we knew. It's like that Social Dilemma documentary that came out. It's things that we knew, but now that it's out, we're thinking about life a lot differently.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's true.
So I've just, as much as I possibly can, been thinking about the benefits of this pandemic. Yep. Obviously, it's a terrible, terrible thing, but you have to look at what is going to positively change in the future.
Exactly, and I think you're right. I think the creativity, like, I know that my creativity's changed with this. I get to think about things a little bit harder. I get to think about, like, ideas I have, when things come back. Like, they're much more developed thoughts. Yeah. And I think it's going to be the same for, musicians and artists. So that's a very, very positive place to be. So
I love that, man. Yeah. How's this year been for you, then?
It's been crazy. It's definitely been one of those years I've never planned for anything like this before. I don't think any of us haven't planned for this. But first off, I wasn't expecting it to last as long. Of course, all of us were thinking the same thing. Yeah. But I think last year started off as a normal year for me. Like I was on a tour with Rae Jepsen in Europe. Yeah. We came back home in February. Then I designed this Masterchef Tour. So did the rehearsals, got that built out. Nice. Sent it out. And then a week after that went out, we got a call saying, that tour's not touring anymore. They're shutting everything down. They shut down every single event. I think that me and all my friends in the industry, we all got phone calls that week saying, hey, look, your projects for the next 6 months, they're gone or rescheduled to later in the year. So I was home a lot. I've never been home as much ever. Ever. Maybe in high school I was home this much. Yeah. But I was home. I had to get used to being there, which was really weird for me. Like I never really watched TV, so I got into Netflix.
There we go.
It was, I'm frustrated by this.
Tell me.
Like the first thing I turn the TV on. I'm like, oh, everybody's talking about Tiger King, so I'm like, okay, I'll watch this.
Yeah.
And then I didn't watch TV for like 2 months after I watched that because I'm like, is this seriously?
I
where we
didn't
are?
watch it. My pride was like, don't do it.
Yeah. What a weird thing to happen to us. Like, why are
We were all
there?
brainwashed. Everybody
Exactly.
watched that. Yeah.
Exactly. It was so weird.
That's hilarious. Took a break of TV after that.
He definitely took a nice long break from TV after that. But yeah, it's just been trying to figure out like this new time that I have. I've been, I've been on Reddit a lot lately.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
But yeah, I think that's like the biggest change for me this year is just like the time. But also, I got a dog, so that's been taking up a lot of my time.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
What sort of dog?
His name it's a Lab Retriever. His name
Okay.
is Big Steve.
I love that.
Big Steve is awesome. He's a puppy, but he's super hyper. But that's been like a new thing that I've been trying to get used to.
Good for you, man.
It's awesome.
So all things considered, things are going well though.
Things are going well. We started this whole thing, so it's going well. It's a little bit slow, but we're figuring out what we're doing next, and every day it's something different. So I am excited about the fact that like the whole team has been able to say, hey, look, tomorrow we got to figure out how to do this thing that we've never done before. Let's figure it out.
I love
So,
that. Though. I really do love that.
So it's been cool just to see everybody like come together and figure out this new weird stuff. So yeah.
So tell everyone what sort of events or productions we could put on here.
Anything. I've been talking to people to do like some DJ battles. There's like a fashion show that we might do. We're in talk with just a bunch of artists to do like different performances. You can do like little seminars. Like I was even thinking like doing like a shoot of like say for example you're like a hairdresser. You can have like a hairdresser symposium here.
Yeah.
Because we can set it up in different ways. The whole room can be fully flipped. So. Yeah,
Do anything here, really.
Yeah, literally, yeah. Anything you want, we'll figure it out. It'll be fun for us to
And
figure
you
out.
have connections for all different types of background lighting and,
exactly.
LED screens, like
Exactly. Yep. So that's some of the concepts I'm presenting are a bunch of weird build outs, lasers, all that sort of stuff. So like building out lasers, lighting, lighting, video walls, all that stuff.
wow.
So, yeah.
You got my mind racing right now.
Oh yeah, man. Just anything. If you have ideas, let me know. I'll write them down and sketch them out.
How can people get in touch with you?
They can go to our website, viewshowdesign.com. They can reach out there. You'll find all my information on there. So yeah.
This has been so cool. I mean, I want to acknowledge you one more time. I got to look over there because it looks so clean. It's so awesome, man. Like, thank you so much for, taking the time to meet with me today.
No, man, I'm glad that you came.
I love interviewing people like you because you play such an important role, an underrated role in the entire industry, man. For real.
Appreciate it.
And that's a shout out to anybody else that does something like Charles here because
lots of us.
There's lots.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to acknowledge everybody as well that has had to go through tough times this year without the music industry, artists and everyone else behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be back, and it'll be amazing when we come back, and we look forward to having.
Do you think the energy is going to be better than ever when we come back?
Oh, absolutely. Those shows are going to happen. All going to be sold out. It's going to be great. I'm excited for that feeling again of just like starting a show.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people in the audience are going to be way more excited than I am, but it'll be awesome. So.
That's okay, man. What if Michael McDonald comes to town though?
I don't think I'll show my face in
Come
Michael
on.
McDonald concert.
What if he hits you up? What if Prince told him years ago? He goes, "Hey, I got this guy. Okay, if you ever come to Chicago, you let me know."
You gotta go hang out with.
Shout out to Michael McDonald.
I like how he's the subject of this now.
You brought up Michael McDonald, man. I can't drop it. It's too funny.
It's just so random.
It is. Charles, thank you again, man. I want to just appreciate what you do here, man. This is really cool. I'm going to be in touch soon. I got some ideas, like I said.
Awesome, man. Let's figure it out.
This is awesome. Thank
cool,
you, sir.
man. No problem.
Appreciate it.
Let me go check the recording.
Hell yeah. That was awesome, man.
That was great.